Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life is a chicken whose feathers he plucks. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
This is Dating Kinda Sucks, a podcast about dating, sex, and relationships. This week, we'll be talking about breaking up during a quarantine. Enjoy the show.
So breaking up during quarantine. All right. Well, let's talk about dating during the quarantine first.
Oh, yeah. Dating during the quarantine. What about you and your dates? Are you dating? No, I
No, I mean, what is today? Well, I don't even know. Today is Saturday, April 25th. Okay, so
it's the most perfect date, actually. Have you seen everyone share that thing from?
Yeah, I don't know what that's from.
Miss Congeniality. Of all the people to not know what that's from, wow.
Oh, that's right. Okay, all right. Yeah. Is that when she's like, describe your perfect date or something, and one of the contestants is such an idiot that she can't answer?
Not too hot, not too cold. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. I have only seen the movie once. I really liked it, but it's been a long time. Wasn't there another day is it Mean Girls or something? That's like a really popular day as well.
Oh, October 3rd.
Okay.
Those two movie days. I know the cringiest movies. They're specific.
No, Mean Girls was a good movie. I just don't remember it. I don't remember the actual date that she said. I just remember that being a thing. I have not. Have been now, I think, basically self-isolating since like March 15th. So now we're looking at 6 weeks. And of course I've been cheating a little bit because I'm a big proponent that, your emotional health is important too. And so it's okay to mitigate the risk a little bit. So I had a friend come over on whatever fucking day it was, someday in the recent past. Since we recorded the last 2 weeks, I've had a couple of friends come over, just one at a time, and hang out in the pool and just relax, and we just caught up and spent like 4 or 5 hours just laying out in the sun and getting some sun and everything, and that's been good. It's been emotionally important and mentally important, and so I've done that. I have not done much on the apps. I have gotten, it's just too easy to get disinterested, I swipe, I start a conversation with someone, and I'm just like, why am I bothering? Like, what is going on right now?
How the fuck am I going to meet you, and what could you possibly say? And it's definitely weeded out a lot of the douchey guys who are just there to fuck because they know that they're not going to get anything. But yeah.
So yeah, I've also found, which is really weird for me, is that I'm a very social person. I like to talk on the phone. I'm the type of person who catches up with everybody and like always calls my friends. Hey, how you doing? I text everybody and just try to check in on people a lot. And in the last couple of weeks, I've noticed that I'm becoming more and more of a hermit. Like I am not like, I don't, you're the only person that I FaceTime with. And it's only when you call me. Yeah.
Okay. Cause I'm like, I don't feel like you are at all.
Well, right. I've just been like, I haven't wanted to I haven't even really cared as much as hard as it sounds to try to reach out to my friends and be like, hey, let's do a Zoom thing. Let's do a Skype thing, whatever. Like that sounds fucking exhausting to me right now. I would rather see one person in person than try to do like a Zoom call with like 30 friends. And I don't want to do it. Like people are doing their Zoom happy hours and people look like they're having fun with it, and more power to them. But to me, I am just getting more withdrawn, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I haven't.
You are now.
I know, yeah, but I mean, which is fine. Like, this is different because it's like this is a thing, it's a habit. But like, just randomly deciding to like talk to someone, yeah, it has not been I have no desire to FaceTime with people right now, and I don't know what it is. I really have no idea why. It's really weird. So dating apps have been even less important because I don't even know those fucking people. So why am I gonna like put any effort into that, where like, at least with the, my friends that I'm already ignoring, who I already love and care about, I'm already ignoring them. So why am I going to focus on a bunch of strangers?
Yeah, you would definitely ignore all the strangers. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really been the extent of it. I've just been doing the occasional pool date and just hanging out with people, and that's really really it. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, half the time you FaceTime, I can't answer, but yeah, although I did the other day when I was in the shower.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you will answer when you're like, no, and I realize you're not wearing a shirt standing in the shower. Why the fuck would you answer that?
It's just funny because I was on my phone putting something on to listen to right when you FaceTime, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna answer. So I answered just so I could be like, no, this is not happening, and then that was it. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So when everything kind of goes back to normal, whatever that is, do you think you're going to be more inclined to jump back on, or it's going to be a slow leading up to getting back on the apps?
I don't know. Like, as soon as Ale House has opened
Not surprised.
drinks, I will probably go there and sit at the bar just because I enjoy it. It's something that brings me comfort. But I can't see like going downtown immediately.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine just the idea of walking around through downtown. That sounds like a lot. Like, just I don't know. So I'm not sure. It's really going to be weird. It's going to be. I think a lot of hospitality businesses are going to see a slump for a little while before people start feeling comfortable enough to go out.
Yeah, and I think people will probably continue their virtual dates. I don't think it'll be a weird thing to say, instead of meeting in person, do you mind if we do a virtual date first?
Right.
Which isn't a bad idea.
Well, I like that most of the dating apps had to roll something out to allow that. Even I think all of them now have some type of option or some type of functionality now, and that's going to be there to stay. They're not going to get rid of that now that it's there.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I honestly, if once this kind of does dissipate and we go back to at least a semi-normal type of life, I wouldn't FaceTime date with somebody. Like, I'd be like, if you want to talk on the phone, we can talk on the phone. But if I was talking to someone, I was like, no, let's go out and meet and have a drink. And if they don't want to do that, I'm gonna be like, well, we're gonna have to meet at some time. So either you do or you don't want to, and that's it. I mean, that'd be my mentality about it.
Do you think people would be more inclined to ask the question of, well, how many people have you seen lately, or when things are semi-normal? I don't know what that looks like, but I feel like those could be potential questions that someone would ask if they were going to meet up in person of, hey, I just want to make sure we're both safe. Have you been
maybe
sick? It might be one of those, you haven't been feeling sick lately, have you? Or, you haven't been to any big events lately, have you? Okay, cool. Then now let's like screening questions, maybe. I don't know what that looks like, and that's even just a weird conversation to have with someone you don't even know.
Yeah.
But
it would be weird because it is like, I mean, if you're gonna have sex with them, you're gonna also ask them, "Are you clean? Have you, although, are you negative?" I guess clean and dirty is a phrases we should not use with regards to STDs. But yeah, God, my voice. I don't know what it is. I realized I haven't talked out loud for probably swear to God, for like the last 24 hours. I don't think I've really said more than 5 words. It's why I feel like my voice is like not sounding normal right now. I don't know. Because I haven't spoken to anyone in 24 hours. I really have not. I mean, I haven't said more than like 5 words. So that's
You're
just
really ringing true to what you just said about being a hermit at this point.
I know, like I really am. Like it's crazy. Yeah. And except what you called earlier, that was you were the
that is true. I was gonna say that was more than 5 words.
Yeah, okay, more than 5 words. But yeah, you were the only person I've talked to today. Anyways, sorry. I just am listening to my own voice as I'm talking and realizing it sounds like, I'm like, it's terrible. Anyways, I don't know, what were we saying?
Dating after quarantine is over and what that looks like.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird, and I think we're gonna have a lot of material to talk about. I think it's going to be very interesting for people, and I think we're going to have a lot of people who are going to want to know kind of our perspectives on it and maybe what we're seeing in our community with like our listeners who tell us how their stories too. Yeah,
absolutely. It's probably different across the country, just depending on the severity in your city as well, and what people, how fast certain places open up and cities open up and all of that. It'll be different across the board.
Yeah, in smaller towns and in more rural areas where they haven't been as badly affected, you're going to see things go back to normal pretty quickly. Well, a lot of places where things are barely went, were not normal. Anyways.
Right.
So what about you? You've been dating, haven't you?
I have. I think the last time we spoke on a recorded line, I was about to go on a virtual date with someone for the first time. And since then, it's been 2 weeks. Since then, we've had, I think, 5 FaceTime dates or Skype dates. And then we actually did decide to meet in person. And
Ooh,
I think I'm going to get a lot of shit for this already because I know. Well, and we made the decision together after having 3 FaceTime dates.
Hold on. You just said you think you're going to get shit for it. I've said on the last 3 episodes, I think, that I've been having pool parties and people over, shit. And nobody has said shit to me. So if they're not going to dare to say shit to me, they can't say shit to you either. I'm going to put that out there.
I'm just saying, well, it's probably because they were friends or whatever, but for me, it was, okay, let's do a picnic. Let's stay 6 feet apart, and we won't hug, we won't kiss, we won't do anything, even though we're dying for fucking physical interaction at this point because we've talked literally every single day since our FaceTime date. We like sat by the river, and I grabbed Publix subs, and we sat there, and he made like a cocktail or whatever, and we sat by the river and we talked for 3 hours, got some sunshine, and then he walked me back to my place. And of course, it was so awkward. The most awkward thing about meeting in person was we didn't hug when we first met. So we're like, what do we do? And then when we were saying goodbye, we kind of walked far apart, and then we didn't hug again, and it was just so fucking awkward. And he even apologized. He's like, sorry for my awkwardness. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to do here either. This is just so fucking weird, because we obviously both wanted to kiss one another, but we held back on that and even held back on hugging. So it definitely sucked, but we were on the same page of that was fucking awkward.
I wonder if that's what courtships were like in the 1920s or 30s or whatever, where people were like, they would go out on a picnic or whatever, and they didn't touch each other at all. There was no PDA, there was no anything like that. It was that maybe they might ask permission to hold their hand when they walk back, but I feel like that might have been what it was like.
Yeah, now that you say that, yeah, I could see that being a thing back then.
But how was the picnic? You guys had a good conversation? Everything went well?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm trying to compile 2 weeks of seeing this person.
I know, yeah.
Whatever, because it's been so long and a lot of stuff's happened. But I mean, there's obviously a connection there from a, physical standpoint, and then also just an emotional intelligence standpoint, and that's good. Good. We, even on our first FaceTime date, we chatted for 3 hours. So we normally when we talk online, it's for a long time, and we both don't want to get off until it's probably 11:30 midnight, and we realize, well, you have work tomorrow, so let's get off. But
speaking of getting off, did you guys
that segue open? Wow.
Yeah, you did. You really opened the door for me. So speaking of getting off, you guys gotten a little dirty?
We have. Okay, so we had our FaceTime date 2 Sundays ago, and then Monday he dropped off. He asked me how my wine situation was looking, and I said, I'm running low on wine, actually. He pulled the Master of None line. I'm going to Whole Foods. Can I get you anything? And I thought he was kidding, and then he sent me a photo of the aisle at Whole Foods in the wine aisle. And then I was like, yeah, this is the type of wine I like. And then he stopped by once I was finished working and dropped off. That was my first time actually meeting him in person, which was the following day after our 3-hour conversation. He dropped off the wine, and again, that first interaction, we didn't hug, we didn't do anything. That was even more awkward because we had just only talked for 3 hours and then saw each other in person. But so after that, then we had a couple other FaceTime dates, and then there was one night I was just being fucking horny as shit. Let's just put it like that. But we were both feeling it though, and we started sexting, but my version of sexting is different than other people's version of sexting.
I'll tell you what, I would pay probably any sum of money to read your text messages when you sext, because I can only imagine, like, I'm trying to picture how much I would laugh. I feel like I would just die laughing at it. I really would. I would pay any amount of money. There's no amount that would be too large for the entertainment value of reading those texts.
Well, I'll give you. I won't read them, but I'll.
Can you read it? Can you read like a couple?
Absolutely. No, because we were talking. It wasn't even me saying, "Oh, I want to put your dick in my mouth." It wasn't anything like that. I didn't even go there. He went there, which I was fine with. But it was more of me talking about what I like. That's kind of how the conversation started. What do you like? And then we were talking about toys that we had, and then we were talking about how we would be if we were in the same room together. So it was just a slow build, and then I stopped texting for, a solid 10 minutes and got off. And then I told him that that's what just happened. And then we continued the conversation, and I was horny again. And it was probably an hour of just back and forth, which was great and much needed. And then it was funny because the following, 2 days later, that's when we actually met in person and had our picnic or whatever. And that was something that he brought up. He's just like, yeah, I had a lot of fun that other night.
Oh, sure. I'm sure.
But yeah, I didn't go, no surprise. I wasn't sending really any photos or anything like that. He sent a couple photos, which, I'm not hating on. So yeah. Yeah.
And so after your picnic date, you didn't have any desire to, you really were okay with just him walking away?
No, I wasn't fucking okay. Are you kidding me? I wanted him to come back upstairs, and my hoe ass. And I apologize, but then we were both feeling it. We were both on the same page. It was probably at the end of us sitting outside eating and, looking at the clock. Not that we have anywhere to fucking go. And I make the comment of, okay, we've consumed a lot of liquid. So at this point, we're sitting outside. Someone has to. Normally, this is where I would get up and go to the bathroom on a date. There's a bathroom break scenario, and so I kind of turned to him like, well, what do you think about coming back to my place? And I said something like, this would be the point of the date where I would ask you to come back to my place. And then he kind of, did a sigh and was like, I can't do it. And I was like, fuck, I'm so bad. I'm instigating this. I'm the terrible one. I'm not following the rules, because I felt like the invisible police. I was like, ooh, I should have asked that. That was inappropriate.
Right.
It wasn't inappropriate, but yet because of all of this quarantine and social distancing, it felt very inappropriate to ask. And then he was like, no, it's fine. So he walked me back to my place, and then, we said goodbye. And then he had texted me probably 10 minutes later and said, I'm kicking myself for not going upstairs. He's like, I'm just driving around right now because I have nowhere else to be, and I wish I would have just gone inside. And I was like, I think we made the right call. And then we started texting the rest of Saturday night. And then Sunday, I was going to actually invite him over. So we were going to say, fuck the rules. Come over, let's fool around, let's get physical, let's actually hug one another. And then
hugging is what you were talking about for sure.
Only hugging, strictly
only hugging. Yeah.
Only hugging. So we had planned
hugging with your mouth, maybe.
That too, yes. But so we were texting back and forth Sunday, and he was trying to figure out what time in the afternoon he was going to come over, and we were going to hang out at my house. And then I got really fucking nervous and FaceTime one of my friends, and she was like, these short-term gains lead to long-term consequences. So you shouldn't have him come over.
Wait. And did she really say that? That sounds like something like that a pastor would say to two kids about having sex together. Short-term gains have long-term consequences. 18 years, you're going to have a child, it's...
Yeah, pretty much. And I just kept thinking about it, and I was like, oh, it's still pretty bad out there, even though we had just hung out, you know what I mean? I just got nervous about it and told him, and then I had anxiety about it because my anxiety's been up and down throughout all of this, and he understood. And so
the fact that he understood is a good sign, because I would say that it would be a huge red flag if all of a sudden he got really shitty. And, because I could see a lot of guys getting shitty about that and being like, oh, you're being a tease or whatever. And, I had my hopes up. I got blue balls or whatever, just one of those stupid guilt trips that a lot of guys do. And the fact he didn't, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, we've joked of like this is the longest, biggest tease right now.
Oh, right.
But just because, you know, we haven't been able to even hug one another. But
Sure.
What else? With red flags though, I mean, you mentioning, oh, you know, how could you not let me come over, blue balls, blah blah blah. He is what I really like about him is even when he says stuff that I don't even take like that, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, that could come off a certain way. Then I read it again, I'm like, I guess it could, but I didn't interpret it like that. But I appreciate he's very proactive in how he communicates. He's like, sorry, that was a really negative response. I shouldn't have responded to your question like that, or sorry, that was inappropriate. And I didn't mind it. I mean, I forget what we were saying yesterday, but because I had made tacos for dinner last night, and he had made some like chicken marsala dish, or chicken curry dish or whatever, and he didn't think that he made the dish very well, and then he said, you know, you might have to share. And I said, oh, I don't have a problem sharing. I could cook more. Just come on over. And then he responded, I feel like there's an eating taco joke in there, but I'm above responding to that. And then I was like, I'm not. But I mean,
but see, in that case, that wasn't a red flag. That was him not being a 12-year-old.
And I'm 12.
And you being a 12-year-old when it comes to your sense of humor.
I thought it was funny. Okay.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so things are good. Obviously attracted to him. I like talking with him, and it's actually getting us to talk about more things than I think we would if it would just be an irregular before COVID-19 type of thing. Well, so
I think it's good that you managed to go out and see him in person, so you actually get to see him face to face, and that's important, you know, because I do think the fact that you were able to stay strong is also, you know, is very impressive. But yeah, very impressive. But I think that's good that you get to see him. So then you guys at least got to see if there's that physical spark, or that you know, even if you're not touching each other, you can still tell if there's a spark.
Yeah.
Which you can't always tell on FaceTime.
And honestly, that's kind of what I was worried about when we did meet up in person for the first time was, okay, is it going to be different? Or it was honestly just the same as it was on FaceTime, which was great. And, you know, he obviously looks the same as he does in all of his photos and on FaceTime. So that was another good thing. Those are things I probably wouldn't ever say outside of this situation, too, which is so weird. But yeah. So we're still talking. Actually, after we're finished recording today, we're going to have another video session. So that sounds more sexual than I.
Yeah. We're gonna have a video session.
I'm also Oh yeah. No, we haven't done that actually, but I mean, is anyone surprised at this point? But
I mean, I kind of expect you might get there. You might still get there. I guess we'll see what happens. How long this goes on.
He kind of stopped me from sending. I have an archive of old photos that are pretty sexy. That of course Adam's like, there's probably
I know what you think is a sexy photo. And it's what most people just post on their Instagram.
Anyways, I was going to send him
Is it as sexy as you with the pillow outfit?
I mean, it's me in like a bra standing in front of the mirror, and it's a really fucking hot ass bra that I didn't buy that I regret not buying. But I did actually post
the pillow outfit though you put on Instagram was hilarious.
Oh, well, thank you.
But you had guys thinking like saying it was sexy, didn't you?
People thought that was sexual just because you saw a little bit of side boob and then the lining, you know, the side of my thong or whatever. That was honestly, it was only not even half of my body was out bare.
No, I know it was barely anything.
Flipped out. But but I tried to send him photos, and he was like, you know, I want to wait until I can actually get my hands on you, and I was like, oh, okay, we can wait, but. I feel like I'm being bad, but I just, this is so weird because I'm the one pushing, come over. Like at this point, host Sarah is out and ready to play. It has just been too fucking long. So that's all I got to say about that.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I forgot to mention actually that, and it's kind of relevant, is that I had back in like October, November, so long ago, I went out with someone that we nicknamed the Spicy Pisces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then we've been out a couple times, and the last time we saw each other, she got too drunk and I was at her place and we were fooling around and she was like barely coherent. So I was like, oh, you need to go to bed. Like, and so I like basically put her to bed and then left. And she supposedly had actually moved all the way across the state to Clearwater, but then all this happened and the job that she was supposed to start over there went out of, basically disappeared. So she came back. So she came over the other night, and we were originally gonna do like a pool day, but it was rainy. So did I not tell you this?
No,
okay,
that's
I couldn't remember.
My shocked face.
Yeah, she came over the other night, and I was like, oh, this will be fun. And we ended up just kind of catching up and talking, and then like playing literal board games. Like we're actually like playing things like Scrabble and what else we play, like Connect 4, and just having fun. We each had a drink, and we were just kind of chilling and relaxing. But we were within close proximity of each other. We were like touching in a casual touching type of way. And in my mind, and I don't have any confirmation of this, but I kind of felt from things that she'd said to me that maybe things could have progressed that night. Like I probably could have gotten laid that night. It possibly would have happened. And
if it wasn't for COVID-19.
No, it had nothing to do with that at all. I totally would have just said fuck it and had sex with her. Of course I would have, but I mean, yes, it's me.
You're responsible, Adam.
I don't give a
fuck,
basically. But no, what actually happened was like it started getting late and like around midnight we were like getting along. It was great. Like I had a lot of fun. I got tired and I was kind of like, she was kind of like, I could tell that she was trying to figure out what was going to happen. And I kind of was like, I think I'm ready for bed. And so she went home. And yeah, I know.
What?
And I think that might be part of my whole mentality of being a hermit right now is that I don't know that my sex drive also kind of disappeared temporarily. Like, I feel like it's just kind of like, what's the point? It's like, why bother talking to people? Why bother, having a sex drive right now? I don't know if that's what it is. I don't know if even though I was fine with whatever in the back of my head, I let the idea of COVID-19 get to me. Even though we were in close proximity, sitting there talking, playing games. So what's really one next step after that? So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, nothing happened. And I think it could have. I really do think it could have. She sent me a naked snap the next day saying how lonely she was. So I do think it definitely could have. And I chose not to, and I don't know why I made such a poor decision.
I think it was the responsible call, but that's just me.
Fuck being responsible.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to be as responsible as I can right now, but still having a little bit of fun. Because my whole thing, I mean, and like I said too, the backlash on this could be strong, but my whole thing is eventually things are, not that I'm saying let's open everything up tomorrow and I'm not one of those protesters or anything, but eventually things are gonna have to get back to normal eventually. Eventually. I mean, I already went into work for 2 days, but there was no one in the office, and that was for your own sanity, wasn't it? That because I had cried 3 days straight because I was so fucking depressed and lonely, and it's been raining here in Nashville, and it really fucked with me. And my boss told me, if you want to go into the office, there's no one there, and we're considered an essential business, so we're allowed to be open. So just go in. And I went in 2 days in a row and got takeout lunch, and I felt like a normal fucking human being again. And then that following day, I went on a date with the virtual guy. He's not virtual, but I don't know a nickname for him.
I know a nickname for him. You guys have been on several times.
I was like, oh, whoa, I can't say that. But I don't know, like those 3 days in a row made me feel like back to normal. But my whole point is eventually it's going to get
Master of none. That's what we're going to call him.
No, let's not call him that.
Why? He pulled the Master of None trick, and it was a good one. It actually worked. He actually brought you some from Whole Foods.
Okay, fine. We can do that, I guess.
You don't like that nickname? I think that's a good nickname.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just I was thinking something more spicy, but that's fine.
More spicy than Master of None.
It's not going to be spicy Pisces, I'll tell you that much. But
no, I know, yeah.
I said spicy, but yeah, okay, we can stick with Master of None. But anyways, I don't know. I just eventually I'm proceeding with caution, and obviously I'm advising anyone who wants to be on dating apps and go out on dates to go as far in this whole virtual dating thing and in person as much as you feel comfortable to do so. Don't we've discussed this already. Don't meet up in person if your anxiety is high and you don't feel comfortable with it. But just know eventually, there will be an easing back into society thing too. So that's reassuring of,
Maybe, or who knows? I'm totally falling apart. So I might just start regressing more and more, and I'll just never leave my house ever again.
I'm trying to get out at least a couple times a week, but I don't want to go to the grocery store. But anyways, I mean, I'm just trying to. Right. Anything for my mental health right now is what I got to do.
It's funny because just to get out of the house, I've been going to support the local restaurants that I know, and there's one local one. It's called the Waterfront Orlando over in Sodo, and they've been doing a lot, trying to stay up by giving to-go food and doing specials and all that. So I've been trying to support them and like share them on social media and go and buy food from them and everything like that to show my support. And I apparently have gone there so much that today I went there for brunch and they gave it to me for free.
No way.
I was like, no, let me pay. I'm here to try to support you. And they're like, yeah, you've done a lot. Like, here, just take this. This one's on us. And I felt bad about it. I was like, but they're probably like, God, he comes all the time. He really just needs social contact, apparently, with somebody.
Damn.
That's what they thought. Yeah. So yeah. I was just like, that's okay. Food's good though, but I'm enjoying it. I'm going to be going back there tomorrow. So
every fucking day, it's the new ale house for you.
Well, yeah, it's also in Sodo, so it's like 20-25 minutes away. So it's like a nice hour drive. Like I get to take my time. Like I'm like, oh, where else can I go? What haven't I driven around recently? And it's nice to just be out of the fucking house.
Yeah, so, I get that.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, there's your life. I'm really interested to see especially since we do this every 2 weeks right now, which I think has been good for us as well. That to see what happens in the next 2 weeks. Who knows?
Who fucking knows?
Short-term games can have a long. What was it?
Long-term consequences. I know. That's in the back of my mind.
It shouldn't be. Don't worry about it. Just go have fun and enjoy your company with this guy. That's okay. That's what I think.
Yes, Adam.
I had one thing before we go to break too that I just thought was entertaining. Yesterday, just because Twitter has just been going crazy. I feel like everybody on Twitter is like, just, you can tell that people are going crazy. Celebrities are going crazy on there, and they're being like maybe more personal, or maybe staying in touch with their fans a little more. But I just did a random survey and I asked, how many people do you think you've kissed in your life so far? I just wanted to, I don't know why I had this idea. I just kind of wanted to see what it was like, because it's not a number you normally think about. You normally think about your number of sexual partners, but not the number of people you kissed. And out of it looks like 82 votes, 24% said under 10. 36.6% said between 11 to 35, 17.1% said 36 to 75, and then 22% said 76 or more people in their life. So I was trying to think about mine. I was like, well, I think my number, I'd have to go through and just make an actual list of everybody I've had sex with, but I feel like my number is somewhere around like 30 to 35. So I'm pretty sure that like the number of people I've kissed has to be between 36 to 75, because I've kissed a lot more people than I've had sex with, because there's been people I've kissed that I just did not end up banging. So, right. But what about you? What would you say your number is?
I think I'm in that range too. I've kissed way too many fucking people.
Yeah, I can
not
see
that that's a bad thing, but no, I said the 36 to 75 range.
Yeah. So
just thinking about all the dates I've been on, how many people of those dates I've kissed back in high school, like all the old stuff too. Yeah, it's probably up there.
It's probably up there. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So I just it was a survey I had just for a day just to see what people said, and I just found it really interesting. I think 11 to 35 being the 36%, the biggest number, surprised me, and the fact that, I mean, the two biggest numbers were 35 or fewer people. That was 60% of people said that it was under 35 or less. Which is just that surprised me.
Way too many people to know what bad kissing and good kissing is.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, if you had asked me when I was like 22 years old, it would have been like 6 people probably.
Right.
Which is just crazy. So
that's what happens when you're single and you just have,
Well, back then, yeah, single, and then you marry the first person you have sex with. That's what happens.
I mean that too. But
like, you don't kiss anybody else for 10 years.
Yeah.
So that was just interesting. Man. I don't know.
I think it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Just for the hell of it. Well, I think we should take a break, and when we get back, we will dive into the topic of breaking up during a quarantine. I think this will be an interesting topic that hopefully everyone sticks around and enjoys.
Yet none of us have been broken up with.
Not yet. We'll be right back. So this topic came up because I got a direct message on Twitter from someone who I believe is a listener, because he referred to the podcast. But he said, "Hi Adam, I hope you're well. I had a question, and maybe you can answer this on the podcast or even create a mini topic about it. I'm considering a breakup with someone I've been dating for 2 years. We live about 30 minutes drive apart, and I'm wondering if, given the current situation, is it okay to break up over the phone? I don't know if asking this makes me seem shitty or not, but we haven't seen each other in a couple of weeks. I'd like to hear your thoughts on breaking the in-person etiquette of breaking up in the quarantine world." So that was his question. I know.
Well, it's more than a mini topic. It's a full-blown topic.
I know. I was like, oh, well, so, and I asked him a question. I said, after 2 years, I said, that does seem a little shitty. Have you been talking regularly or FaceTiming? And he did say no FaceTime. She hates it, but talking a few times a week, we still text every day. Having this time apart has kind of made me wonder if I really want to continue this or not. Maybe I'm just copping out, but I'd hate to string her along until the lockdowns ease if I made my mind up to end this. So
Damn.
I know, like that's a tough one.
Oh.
So I thought that might be a good topic for us to dive into for the second half of this episode.
Yeah, 2 years definitely adds weight onto that, and everyone's situation's different, but
right.
Yeah.
And 2 years it's funny because you hear 2 years and you automatically think, oh, that they've been, like by 2 years is when you start talking about living with each other, etc. But if after 2 years they're still living 30 minutes apart from each other, it could also be that type of 2 years where people see each other once a week, or and they talk during.
It's more long distance ish. Not really,
because 30 minutes isn't really long distance, but depending on work schedules, it could be, or school. I don't know. I absolutely know. I know nothing about like where he is or where she is, like in life. Are they in school? Are they working full time? How old they are, or anything like that. I'm not sure what their situation is, but so 2 years could mean 2 years like of being like, when I date somebody, it's usually like if we're committed, we're together all the time. Like it's 5 days a week, 6 days a week usually. Like you see that.
Yeah. So
2 years for me would be very significant, whereas 2 years for some people might be you've seen them a fraction of the time.
Right. I mean, from my experience, I've been broken up with over the phone, and I've also broken up with someone over FaceTime. Both very different lengths of relationships, but the 2-year relationship that I was in, we were long distance. So he lived in Boston and I lived in Orlando. And at that point I knew, and I was going to see him in May, but I broke up with him in April because I didn't want to break up with him and see him in person and make that like a really bad, awkward trip, of like, what was I going to do? So I made the decision to break up with him via FaceTime, which we didn't, and to go back to his thing of, oh, we don't really FaceTime. We didn't really FaceTime that much either, but I made it as a fun, this is shitty to say, but I kind of, so it wouldn't seem suspicious. I like
hold on, I can't wait to hear what you're about to say here.
This is bad. Okay, I'm a shit person. So it wouldn't be that suspicious that like a breakup was on the horizon, since we barely ever FaceTimed. I said, hey, we should probably just FaceTime more. So a couple weeks before I knew I wanted to break up with him, we started FaceTiming a little bit more every week. Just so
sneaky.
Because I knew that there was no fucking way. One, I was going to fly up to Boston to break up with him in person. And right. Two, there was no way I could let a 2-year relationship end over the phone. Like that just did not feel right to me. So I knew that I had to do it over FaceTime. And so that was my way of doing, because if I just randomly FaceTime out of the blue, it would have just seemed not like us at all. So sounds shitty, but that was my way of, doing that. And we ended up breaking on FaceTime. And honestly, it was kind of more heartbreaking than if I think it would have been over in person or over the phone, because you could just see, you
don't think it would have been as heartbreaking in person?
It would have been, but it's easier to leave a house after you've broken up with someone.
That's
and
true.
Just,
that's true.
Then versus on FaceTime, they just want to keep talking about it and keep talking about it and keep talking about it and then go off on you. You know what I mean? It's awkward, and you feel like they deserve that little bit of time to say what they have to say or whatever. Versus if you break up with them in person, deuces on like out the door.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that is kind of whatever. And then being broken up with over the phone, it was a 4-month relationship, and he could have done it like 2 weeks later, but at that point he needed to do it, and then we broke up again in person. But I mean, I kind of wanted it to be over FaceTime, but that's just me because I felt cheated in the breakup because it was over the phone. So as shitty as it was to break up with my ex over FaceTime, what?
Cheated? What did you think you deserved?
I know. I thought I deserved a lot back then.
No, I'm just saying like how you felt cheated. Like cheated of, like, did you want to hurt him? Like what?
I mean,
what?
I did. I mean, I fucking
right.
did. Here's this podcast now. I'm kidding. But I don't know.
Have you been on the show Snapped?
Oh, but it's coming. No, I don't know. I just wanted more. I just
Closure?
I felt like it was a half breakup. For me, it felt something was missing, and that's kind of why we ended up meeting in person and then seeing each other once again and kind of ending things, closing the books in person. So, I mean, I don't recommend for him if this breakup's going to happen, I either suggest FaceTime or finding some way for face-to-face to work. I don't recommend just over the phone, especially after 2 years. That's me though.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where we did a whole episode on breaking up, and I cannot for the life of me remember what we talked about.
Yeah,
I don't remember, but I think in my mind, what I do find is that it seems in person seems to be the right thing to do, but is it? Because and I'm just talking about generally, not even just during a quarantine, but like generally speaking, it's like let's both have to go somewhere, you know, like you either go to their house or you go to like a restaurant and do it in public somewhere. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's just wasting everybody's time too. Like, it might be best to do it in a you know, some type of virtual way potentially, but I don't know. That's just me, but I think it's hilarious.
disagree with that, but
I know, and I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I'm just kind of saying that maybe. Like, I'm not really 100% on that either. I'm still tied to the fact, just loving the idea that you're like, let's just start FaceTiming because you wanted to like ramp up to breaking up with them on FaceTime.
I've never said that out loud either.
That is awesome.
But that was my strategy. I knew a couple weeks going.
It's a good strategy. Like, you have to like get people used to something. It reminds me. This is completely aside, but I remember one year when I came up from college, that I knew that I had failed a class because I missed an exam. And my parents were waiting for report cards to come, and they hadn't come in yet because my parents got my grades mailed to them. So for the week of Christmas vacation, I kept saying, you know, maybe that school's not for me. You know, like it's you know, there's been some challenges. Maybe I should just drop out. Like, and I just started like laying the groundwork for this. And they're like, no, it's okay. Like, there's always going to be challenges. You're going to do fine. Just like, you know, even if you get some bad grades occasionally, that's all like you know, my mother was like, I got bad grades in nursing school my first couple semesters. It happens. You'll be fine. And I knew I had an F. So I was like, I absolutely was just letting them talk themselves up so they knew it. And then when I knew the grades were coming, I left to go back to school, and my parents called and like, so you failed the class. You knew about this ahead of, like, they didn't fall for it. But anyways, you doing that just reminded me of at like 17 doing that in college too. Just trying to like get the other person ready when you know that something bad is about to happen, and trying to prepare them. But in this guy's situation, so I mean, it does change it when you're quarantining. It does change it. Like, if they apparently they haven't seen each other, so even though they've been dating for 2 years, they're not seeing each other, which I find odd anyways. If I'd been dating for someone 2 years.
So do I. Yeah.
If you've been dating for someone for 2 years, I know they'd be over there, or you'd be over at their place all the time.
Or you would quarantine together. That's just kind of, I don't know what the situation is there, but I would assume, I know a lot of people that actually don't live with their significant other, but they're quarantining with their significant other because they didn't want to be alone. And either that's fucked up their relationship or it's helped their relationship. Yeah. Time will tell on that.
Maybe breaking up. I mean, yeah. So that right there tells me that maybe this relationship might have been having some issues from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I know how the conversation plays out, but the actual medium that it goes down on is
right. So I'd like to, at least, I gave him some advice, but I thought we should at least give him advice, and then we can kind of talk about it in a more general sense too.
Okay.
About for just if you are considering breaking up while you're in quarantine. So for him specifically, I mean, it sounds like, I think it feels like there's already issues if they haven't seen each other at all, and she doesn't want to FaceTime. So he's not even like seeing her, and they've been together for 2 years. So that to me is like, oh, maybe
the FaceTime too.
Yeah, I am too.
More people are Zoom meeting. Like you said earlier, more people are doing Zoom and normalizing doing FaceTime video calls. So the fact that they haven't done that and think that it's weird is kind of off as well. So
right. Because even after me saying that I have no interest in doing that thing, if I was in a relationship with someone, I would be doing that. Like that would be something that's a different situation than just, checking up on friends and having a virtual happy hour, which I just think sounds sad and lonely, if I'm going to be honest. Like,
it's not terrible. Okay. I've done a couple.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's just, let's just drink at home and pretend we're not. Yeah. Anyways. So that was that makes it hard. But I think why would he want to, like he said, string it out? Like, why would he want to it's not like they're both going to go out and go find new people anyways. A lot of times you say you should break up with them when you're not happy, because let them go find happiness, but she's not about to go find happiness in the middle of quarantining anyways. So, I mean, what do you think?
She can get on Tinder. She can get on a dating app, but it's not, obviously.
Sure.
It's not the same. Yeah, definitely don't string it along. I agree. The second it just
could you string it along? That's what I'm saying. In the case of a quarantine, if you're not gonna, you usually don't want to string along because you want to let them free. You want to, let them go free so they can go find somebody. But is that going to happen right now when everyone's quarantining? So aren't you you're not really negatively affecting them, are you? I'm asking. I don't have an answer for that.
I think just me, if I was in this situation, I think I would be negatively affected because, I mean, their relationship sounds different, but if I have a boyfriend who's 30 minutes away and he wants to break up with me, I have no idea. But I'm also, talking to him for emotional support, that he's helping me out right now. And I would think that would continue to build our bond even stronger through the quarantine. And we would be looking forward to seeing each other outside of quarantine. And that would be the next thing that, because we're not seeing each other in person, that we would be excited to do that. So
it's also likely that if he's not happy, it's probably coming across in his tone and everything. So she might be second guessing herself or maybe having issues right now trying to figure it out, which isn't good for her anyway. So that maybe that is why you don't want to string them along and you want to just let her know.
Yeah, because think about it. If she is home alone, just sitting on this, thinking about it, having anxiety about coronavirus and being alone, and then this relationship failing, I mean, cut one of the sources of anxiety off and just let her heal in this time. I mean, yeah, it sucks to not be able to have some kind of rebound and to get back out there and meet people if you're broken up with during this time, but at least you get the emotional clarity, and you can actually, because there's really nothing else to focus on, right? You can actually think, okay, well, I can process my feelings quietly for a couple days and cry and get it all out, and then I can reflect, grow, get stronger, and use this time to get better, and then prep myself for if I want to date again or what future me wants to be.
That's true.
I don't know. She might have been here.
She might have been wanting to cut her bangs this whole time and afraid that he wouldn't like them, and now she can, because people are apparently going all through all types of hair transformations while they're in quarantine as well. So now maybe she's do whatever the fuck she wants. So the advice I suggested to him is that if he's really made up that he should do it, but I suggested he write it down first, write down the reasons, and then I said, avoid trying to be I think I hope we can be friends, or you deserve better, or anything that's this kind of martyrdom type stuff. Right. You just keep it simple, and I'm not happy. I think we should go our separate ways, and I don't bear you any ill will, and I'm sorry about this, and I don't want to hurt you, but I think it's better to end it now than to keep it going, and that's it, leave it at that. But if you're going to do it by phone, do it by phone or FaceTime. What about this? What about the idea of going like to their house and just standing 6 feet away, like out their door and telling them?
God, that sounds shitty as fuck.
Right?
Dude.
That sounds so bad. Like I feel like that's not better. I don't feel like that's any better to be like, I drove over here to tell you this.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'll be so excited to see them, and then they have you haven't seen them in several weeks.
Oh yeah. I like my FaceTime tactic that I did to break up with someone, and it felt kind of shitty at first, but it ended up being like the right call for our situation. There's so many things that would be different where I would suggest doing it in person if they were seeing each other in person, but they're not. My other thing is too, with the whole should I do it now? Should I wait? We don't know what the future looks like right now. In a lot of cities, there is no. It's getting pushed to June. Who knows what will open back up in June? Who know? This could be a lot longer. So is it really worth for this person who messaged you? Is it really worth your mental health and anxiety to keep stringing this along? I mean, you deserve, as much as you're considering the person who's about to be broken up with. You also deserve your clarity. You also deserve that headspace and to not worry anymore and to not, and obviously it's weighing on him, and you got to look out for yourself too. Like it's a shitty situation is a shitty situation, but fuck it. If you're very unhappy, you gotta do what's best for you.
I mean, I agree. I think that that's in the long run, you do have to do what's best for you. You should never stay in something just because you're worried about it. Like, because you're worried about that person. I mean, you need to do what's best for you, and then try to be kind about it at the same time. Yeah.
All you can do is be kind. Write it down was a great advice, and just think it out. I mean, shit. When I planned my breakup, I wrote down the first opening sentences of what I was gonna say, so I knew how to get on track with the conversation. Because it's so awkward too. Of when you call someone to break up with them, oh, how's your day? Good. You got to think of your first opening lines to ease into the conversation. So as you're writing stuff down, if you're going to do it over FaceTime, plan out the first couple sentences so then you can transition into that conversation, because it's so fucking awkward too.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, just in general with breaking up, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
it's probably even more awkward on FaceTime. So
I'm hoping he has some luck with it. That it's not too bad for both of them. He's going to hopefully he'll let me know how it goes, and I can report back next episode. But that I think I think the phone is definitely a tough way to break up with somebody after 2 years. But in this situation, it seems like that might be in some capacity, phone or FaceTime might be the best solution. But so what about people in a more general sense? I think we're going to see a lot of breakups and divorces after this.
You really think so?
I do. I think that there are a lot of here's what relationships a lot of times they work because oh
no, go on.
They work because the people aren't always together. Like, they work sometimes because you spend, you're seeing them occasionally, you're seeing them just enough, basically. And it might be things where some of them have red flags. Some of them might not be the best relationship that has an expiration date 2 years in the future. But when you're spending every day together, that expiration date is ramped up significantly, and it's like it's going to happen now. It's like just a tea kettle, basically waiting to go, yeah, because you're faced with the problems in the relationship on a daily basis, instead of, oh, I only see them every weekend because we work during the week, and so it's no big deal. Or, since we work full time, we only go out 3 nights a week, and so that's it. That your time together is 3 nights a week or whatever. And so when your time together is staying at home all day long and not working from home, and then trying to navigate working from home with someone else working from home, I just really see a lot of relationships that already had expiration dates, not healthy, good relationships, but relationships that were already going to end at some point, that expiration date just being moved up very, very quickly, exponentially to now.
To yesterday.
Yeah, so as soon as this is over, people are like, "Oh, I'm fucking done. Let's get we're out of here." I never want to see you again. Yeah. So I guess we should talk about that. Like, what do you do?
Well, I will say to your last point too, with the relationship being stuck inside, you're also losing the fun things that a relationship would get to experience. So you're not having those fun outings anymore. You're not having maybe some of those outside influences that made your relationship more fun. If I was in a relationship right now, quarantined with someone, I guarantee the pet peeves that I had that didn't really affect me that much would be ramped the fuck up. And I would have, and even if the relationship didn't have an expiration date, I mean, who really know? Well, you kind of know, but who really knows? Like, okay, we'll last 3 years and whatever.
Right.
But I think that the things that annoy me about another person, and also I'm saying this because I live at home and I don't like living with other people, but if that whole thing would definitely set me off, and pet peeves would be a lot more obvious. So
it's like traveling with someone. You know, that's a good way to see how your relationship is.
Oh my God, yeah.
If you go on a trip with them, like a road trip or something, then you can, then you can really kind of see all those little things that you don't always think about. It's like when you date versus living with someone. Like, the moving in with someone, you get to see all the, do they put the toilet paper on the same way you do? Do they leave the lid on the toothpaste off? Like, all these little things that might drive you crazy. Exactly.
Ugh, do they eat
so it might drive you crazy, but then in the long run, it's no big deal. You're like, oh, I can overlook it. But then you go ahead and you're living with them and you're seeing it every fucking day. I'm surprised there's not more murder, because I saw that crime has been down, but I'm surprised there's not more murder right now.
I'm sure there's a lot more fighting going on, if anything, in unhappy relationships already, that they're fucking fighting like no other.
Yeah, it is important to note on a very serious note that there is increases in domestic abuse right now, which is terrible. Yeah. But that abusive relationships, which are not very toxic relationships where people are trapped, now they're trapped even more, and that's even harder. It's a very difficult situation, and I can't even imagine having to be in that situation where someone's had. I've posted a few times on social media publicly that, hey, if you are in a domestic, in an abusive situation locally, and you're stuck at home with someone who's abusive, I have a couch for you. Like, I want someone to at least know they can hop in the car or call me or something. I'll come pick them up, whatever, because that's a tough situation. So obviously those relationships should end, but that's not a safe situation, and I don't think we are in a place to be able to talk about that.
Right. Yeah.
But I wanted to mention it because I think it's important to talk about that. That is definitely happening. That those are increasing right now.
Mm-hmm. I thought about that really when this whole thing started, but then with everything else going on, you kind of forget about that, to be honest. Or for me, anyways, I kind of forgot about it.
Well, it's easy to, because you're not, first of all, there's so much shit going on in the news about everything.
Yeah.
That it's crazy, every day, not even every day, every 10 minutes you can look at the news and there's something else weird happening, like there's something else crazy or insane or
I got
whatever.
my Lysol concoction right here, actually.
Right, I know you got doing shots of bleach, whatever. Did you know, by the way, 30 people in New York made calls either to the hospital or to 911 about drinking disinfectant.
They have enough problems. Oh my God.
But anyways, so I could see that you wouldn't think about that because you're worried about yourself. And that's another big part of this, is that, when you're in a relationship, and if you do have the person at home and you're living with them, anxiety is ramped up for everyone. Even people who maybe don't usually have anxiety, depression, stress, all of those are higher levels than they usually are. Mm-hmm. And that's going to put a strain on even a good relationship.
Yeah, because you probably haven't processed those feelings with a partner ever.
Sure.
You're alone. You've either never experienced anxiety, depression, or any other issue, and then now you're with a partner and you're trying to process those feelings, trying to be a good spouse or partner, and then it's tough. It's fucking tough.
Right, and it is, and I would say there's especially a lot of men out there who probably aren't used to dealing with anxiety or the ideas, or even depression. Like it's not something that they're used to, trying to push it aside. And when you're kind of faced with it on a regular basis, it can be very difficult. So they're probably wrestling with their own emotions, and that makes it difficult to be able to be there for someone else. It's hard to if you're usually the rock for somebody, it's hard to be the rock when you're going through your own shit and you don't know how to deal with it because you've never had to in the past.
Yeah, and you want someone to be there for you, but you don't know how. In what way do you need them to be there for you?
Right. Like that's typically, my role, is I'm always the person people come to, and I very rarely ever need anybody. But I remember there was one time, and I talked a lot of shit about my ex-wife, but there was one time when I was in, I
said, yeah, you do.
Yeah, but there was one time when I was, I want to say it was like probably 2007. I don't know. I had started my business. And something fucked up really badly. Like something that I had done with my business, there was just this huge clusterfuck that I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. And I had like a breakdown. And I remember I called my wife at the time, called her from, she was at work. She only worked like literally a quarter mile away and could barely talk because I was just like, couldn't even breathe. And she literally came home from work and I was just like laying in bed sobbing. And I remember that she actually was very good at that. Like she did a very good job. That was one time she actually was very comforting and very nice. And I think she actually was like, wow, sometimes you actually need somebody, and then she wasn't used to that. And I wasn't used to that because I'm used to always being the person that people come to when they need, when they need something. And that was a good learning experience for me. And I could see that there's going to be a lot of men out there who pride themselves on being that rock who are crumbling a little bit. And that's going to be hard for a relationship because a lot of women who assume that they're
he'll always be like this, or he'll always be supporting me, so I can kind of throw that burden, not knowing, get some of that burden onto him, and now he's got his own burdens, and then also whatever his spouse is kind of throwing on his shoulders as well.
Right, and they're not used to seeing them vulnerable, and I think some women might actually not like that.
Oh, I agree.
Which I think is shitty, but I would say I could see some women who think that that's not manly or that's not whatever, and which is an unhealthy attitude to have. But that I could see that definitely happening too, which is another strain on a relationship. So there's a lot of strains on relationships right now.
Yeah. So, what were we talking about before the depressing stuff kicked in? Jesus.
The fucking episode's about breaking up.
This is all depressing. I guess you're right. This is all fucking.
But in this case, I would say it's one of those things like, are you in a place where your relationship is just having some growing pains because you're spending so much time together, or is it a relationship that needs to end because the compatibility isn't there anymore? That's maybe the point that needs to be approached.
But this is just escalated to a certain extent.
Right. Like, do you just need space, or just because you haven't had any space and everybody needs personal space at some point in their life, especially when you're stressed, or is even with space, you can't imagine being with that person anymore? Like, those are two very different things.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to think for people who their relationship hasn't been going so hot throughout this whole time. My first question is, how have you been communicating with your partner? Has it been meh because we're in the same proximity now, so I don't really need I want my own space? But if you're not communicating, I feel like this might even be the time to communicate more about how you're feeling and start. I never did this before lockdown, but I journal every morning now because there's no one else to really talk to about my feelings.
Is that code for masturbation?
No, that's not code for nap. Is code for masturbation.
Oh, nap. Okay.
That's my code, no. So finding an outlet to one, for me, it's journaling. And then for two, if I was in a relationship, to make sure that I'm communicating, hey, I'm feeling like this today. Just regular check-ins that you might not have done before all of this happened. So just the thought, you're over communicating how you're feeling about certain things, so just so everyone's on the same page, because I think that's where a lot of the blurred lines get with arguments and stuff too, is, well, I expect you to be like this and now you're being emotional and I don't understand why this, and it's because you're not sharing how you're feeling about everything.
Yes, although I guess I agree with almost all of that. I would say that sometimes what happens, especially people who are maybe a little bit needy in relationships, as they get more anxious and more stressed, they probably become needier, which is going to be more likely to push someone away because they're gonna be like, oh, I just need you to be there. I need you. Like they, like their neediness is gonna ramp up, and that can make people push them away a little more. So it might also be a good time to reach out to your friends a little bit, and and like maybe your social circles, and try to maybe kind of share that burden amongst friends.
True.
Rather than put it squarely on the shoulders of your partner.
Yeah, definitely don't put it just on your partner, but I'm saying with relationships.
But it's important to communicate. You should absolutely communicate how you're feeling, 100%.
Yeah.
But it just.
But yeah, obviously, don't be needy. Yeah, I mean, when you said that, I forget. I forget about there are some people out there. I mean, that are a little bit needier than others that can push people away because of that. So.
And they can push people away in like the best of situations because they get in their own head, and that anxiety starts pushing them to communicate like in a way that just has this desperation to it, and that can be really. Need
you to help me. I always need you to lift me up. Yeah.
And that's not going to work either. So it's tough, but I think that if you're in that place where you don't know what is going to happen with your relationship, I think that you can also not stop worrying about it as much. Like everybody's going through things. Like I don't feel like if you maybe just take a step back and just focus on yourself a little bit and just and realize that even if the relationship is going to end, you're still going to be okay. And I think that that's maybe the best thing to try to do, because you might find that if you do take a step back and you start just trying to maybe be a little more self-aware and cognizant of how you're feeling and what you're doing and your actions and just everything, you might see the benefits of the relationship as well. And so may the other person. Does that make sense?
No, I agree. And when you're saying, take a step back and evaluate, I mean, that's from the front end of this, of just dating. That's what I had to do. I had to evaluate, why am I trying to go out? Why am I talking to this guy right now? Is it because I'm lonely? Is it because, with everything going on? I think on the back end, when you're in a relationship and you're questioning how it's going, it's the same thing of, what do I enjoy about this person? Why I'm, like you said, I'm going to be okay, but is it because of other things that we got together? I mean, what do I really enjoy about this relationship? And is it just because of this weird time? And there's a lot of processing, because fuck all you all, everybody's just fucking alone right now.
Right.
It definitely is something to consider.
It is. I think that, it is important if you're trying to avoid having a relationship end too, that maybe it really is important to go for a walk, go for a bike ride, go, drive the car, take the car out and drive around for an hour. Like you don't have to do everything together, and you shouldn't. And, just get out, like just go do something that's just for you, and, and encourage the other person to do the same. Like that, I think that's the other, and you might find that with a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing room, that the perspective can shift a little bit as well.
Totally agree with that. I mean, when I took the 3 days to blast music and drive around and work from the office and just get takeout and kind of feel normal again, I was like, I feel like me again. Because I think being cooped up inside, unless you really are always cooped up inside, you don't feel like yourself already. So try to get back to some of the things that you can do to be yourself. Yeah. And definitely encourage your partner to do that too. And maybe that'll be a realization of, it's just the situation we're in. It's not the relationship. It's just, we're both equally stressed, but now I feel better and he feels better, or whatever.
So now what happens if let's say you have a situation where you are in a relationship with someone and you can tell that it's over and you're quarantining with them. So let's say you're in the place with them. Should you end it and be like, you need to go find a new place to live, or I'm going to go find a new place to live right in the middle of all of this?
Fuck.
Like I don't know what the best answer is. I mean, do you say, let's
you already live together?
Let's say they already live together. Let's say they already live together. I mean, that's a scenario that's pretty normal.
I mean, my first thought is yes, break up, but then still live together, which doesn't really.
Yeah, I'd be like, we're when this is over, we'll find our other places, but for now, I'm going to sleep on the couch, that type of thing.
Yeah.
That just seems to make it even more
stressful. Yeah, who gets the fucking couch though? Yeah, that.
Right.
Ugh. Yeah, but if and you're saying both parties know that the relationship's over?
Well, no, I mean, one person's like, I'm done. I'm done with this relationship. I cannot be with this person anymore. Like, they know. I mean, I feel like that person should try to go find somewhere else to live.
Yeah, at that point, if it's the person breaking up saying I'm done, you probably need to leave. Yeah. that's just my thought. If it can't in any way be worked out where you both stay in the same place for the time being and figure out who gets the couch and it be kind of an amicable thing. Because I was thinking it was actually both parties kind of know that it's over. What's the best choice?
Well, yeah, both parties. But yeah, if just one's just like done, the other person might know. But yeah, I think that the other person, you should try to find somewhere, and then you should just make an announcement. I can't be with you anymore. I found a new place, and just.
Yeah, you should have a plan. Just
have a plan. Like make a plan before you do it. Don't break up. Don't just break up and be like, because some people might not let you come sleep on their couch or whatever, like not right now. So make a plan first and then do it.
Yeah, because if I was broken up with living with a boyfriend right now in our place, my first thing would be, well, get the fuck out. If you're done, you get the fuck out. Oh, you didn't think about that? That's on you, asshole. Good fucking luck finding a place because I'm spiteful as shit like that. But I don't know. That could be a way that it goes down. So
yeah,
have a plan B of there's a couple places I could stay, and I'm just gonna go now. I'll be back for my stuff later. I don't know.
I think also that and I mean, if you have a plan, then you at least you know what you're gonna do, and you can get out of there, and that might give you the clarity that you need too.
True. Yeah. If you're already looking at places and you're already 1 foot out the door, you know that it's the right decision and you feel energized by, okay, I can do this with my life now or whatever, then it's the good call.
Right.
Oh. Quarantine already sucks, and then just add a breakup on top of it is just no fun.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be a good thing, if you break up, then you're free from, something that was not good for you. So there, while it sounds bad, I think it can be a positive. It can be something like, okay, well, now this has helped you reach the decision that you maybe would have wasted a year of your life trying to get to, and now you're there now. That's a good thing. So I think there's a positive to it. There's a silver lining in that situation. Mostly. Yeah. That I don't know. I think anytime that you realize a relationship is defunct, is going to be hard, but it's going to be better for both people in the long run. Because they both aren't wasting their time anymore.
Yeah. So your recommendation for did you come to a final recommendation on FaceTime call or in person, or?
I mean, if you're quarantining to the fact that you're not seeing the person, if it's someone you're not actually seeing in person, then I think a phone call or FaceTime is fine. A text is not okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. And this might be because it almost goes back around to being okay, a long email.
Email.
Well, something where you can actually write out everything. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. It'd be like the old days of sending a letter.
I don't think people would be happy about that. If I got a fucking email,
if you're breaking up with them, they're not going to be happy anyways. So I mean, you can't really win at that situation, regardless.
I feel as if email is some skit from Sex and the City, but Carrie was broken up with on a Post-it note, and email's not much better.
Email's much better than a Post-it note. A Post-it note is the equivalent of a text message, But like an email, you could do something like write an email, write it all out, get your thoughts out there, and say, once you read this, please call me and we can talk about it. You know that way you can have a conversation, but then it allows them to process it as well on their own time when they're ready, and then they can call you. And that gives
that part of it. I don't.
That gives them the dignity too of if they freak out about it, then they can actually freak out without anybody knowing they're freaking out. Then they can process it, then they can work through it, and they can call when they're ready to talk.
Or they'll just freak out and be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then go off. I mean, there's also that alternative as well. But
I don't know. I don't know the best solution is.
I still say FaceTime. I don't. You've warmed me up to the email idea. Obviously, text is a no-go. The driving over to their house to being 6 feet apart seems.
I don't think that works either.
Not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. Yeah.
It's it's one of those things. That you could try. Although I think that if I received an email like that, I would want the opportunity to talk to them to try to change their mind. So I might be upset at an email because I would want to be able to talk to them through what brought them to that process.
Well, yeah, if you send the email, you definitely have to end it with, after you read this, please give me a call and we can talk. You can't just send the email and then be like,
I can never talk to you again. Yeah.
I've already blocked your number. Goodbye. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. But in the end, I think, you FaceTime or a phone call probably is the best solution at this point during quarantine.
And don't hold out, and don't, if you know that it's over, why hold out? Why wait?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You got to think about yourself as much as, I think it's been forever since I've broken up with someone, but I think I always get broken up with. But I think I focused a lot more on the other person than I did myself, of how is he going to take it? How is he going to feel? Instead of like, okay, I've evaluated how the other person's going to feel, but what's best for me right now too? Once I've already reached this,
honestly, what's best for you.
Yeah.
It's
and
not
a
easy.
non-shitty. Yeah, it's definitely not easy.
If you are having problems with your relationship because of quarantine, I think we would like to hear about it, and even anonymously. You can email us and ask to be anonymous or something, and because I think it might be interesting to hear if people are having problems. So you can maybe email us your thoughts or your situation at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com and tell us what you're feeling right now. That might be good. Or you can always of course, message us through our Facebooks or Instagram at Dating Kinda Sucks, or our own individual Twitters or Instagram.
Yeah. I was also going to bring up the point of, if you're emailing us about issues that you're having or whatever, this is also a time too where if you're not communicating well, that could also bring on red flag. I know we talked about communication earlier, but I'm just thinking, if you aren't texting and talking often and aren't communicating often and being honest with one another, obviously we talk about honesty being important, but this could also be better signs than you already kind of knew, but now you're seeing more signs on top of the pet peeves or whatever. That's if you're living together, but if you're not, you can also see, this relationship's really fading anyways, so
yeah,
just a thought, because I know someone who's going through that. So
yeah
okay. But it's more clarity of, I don't know if I would have gotten this outside of quarantine. And now that we're not texting, and it's because, think about it. I mean, realistically, if they're not responding, if they're taking a day to respond to your text, I know it's shitty to be like, oh, you're not responding fast enough. But what are people doing right now? They're sitting on the internet. They're being on their phones. If they're not texting you back within a couple hours, maybe they watched a movie, maybe they took a nap, but it's taking them a day to respond, and they go ghost for a couple of days. I don't know. That's kind of suspicious to me, especially when you need.
Maybe not suspicious, but it's at least a sign.
Yeah, a sign. Yeah. So there are other signs out there, but just wanted to bring that up just from
that's good. That's good.
Thing that I know going on. So yeah. If you, I know you mentioned following us, and I did a little side tangent there.
That was a good point. That was a point worth making.
Yeah, well, thanks. Sometimes I do that. If you, Adam mentioned social media or the emails. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow on there. We also really do appreciate 5-star rating and reviews on iTunes. They really help us out and show your support there. If you want to take it a step further to show your support, we also have a Patreon account. For as little as $5 a month, you can support our efforts. We put up exclusive content on there as much as we can, as much as we're doing episodes live here at patreon.com/DKS podcast. So be sure to check that out if you want to support us further. We'd really appreciate it.
Yes, and I will reiterate the 5-star rating and review on iTunes is very important. Also, if you want to join our community, we have a very very thriving community on Facebook that you can join. Our Facebook group, a lot of people talking, getting advice, sharing their stories, etc. Even now, when not a lot of people necessarily are dating, people still have a lot of stories to share, and that's at facebook.com/groups/DKS podcast. You can join us there, and you can find all of our episodes, of course, on datingkindofsucks.com. And finally, we do have a YouTube channel now, so don't forget to check us out, where you can watch the episodes. If you just don't want to listen because you're not commuting right now and you want to watch something, you can watch the episodes instead, which is pretty much the same as listening to them, except that there's less editing. Because I do the videos, Sarah does the audio, so I don't edit anything. I just splice it together and put a little music in there, and that's really all it is. So you get to see us chat, and Sarah now puts on makeup just because we're doing video episodes. So
I don't have any makeup. I have a little bit of lipstick on, but I don't really have. I haven't worn makeup in 6 weeks, so.
Wow, that's good.
I know.
So check it out at youtube.com/datingkindofsucks. And you can see our episodes there and subscribe. We'd love you to subscribe and give us a thumbs up over there as well. And with that, we will be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. And thank you for listening.
Until next time.
All right. I knew we'd be able to talk for the whole time.
Yeah, I don't doubt us.
And I'm stopping the video.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.